There are things you only find out after you're already too involved. When infatuation blinds you, it's easy to ignore the signs, make excuses for yourself, and fall into the illusion that the past doesn't matter. But what if you had a silent compass that showed you the tracks even before you asked? Not to judge, but to understand who is by your side and if that person really matches your life journey. This video isn't about criticizing feminine behaviors, but rather about recognizing patterns. These are observations, just signs, often subtle, that can say more about someone's history than any direct conversation. If you're the kind of man who's tired of getting into messy stories where there always seems to be a ghost from the past present, then stay here with me until the end. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to observe without judging, how to perceive the traits that indicate she's already been with many guys, and most importantly, how this can impact the type of bond you're going to build. It's not about moralism, nor about creating rules of what's right or wrong. It's about clarity. It's about understanding that not everyone is at the same emotional moment, and that you, as a man, have the right to choose with whom you're going to share your energy, your time, and your heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you something. This video only reached you because someone liked it and subscribed to our channel. Now it's your turn to do the same. Leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so this chain of knowledge keeps growing and reaching more people. Also, comment down below which city you're watching from, because I want to know how far this video is traveling. Now, no more delays, let's get to the good stuff. First observation, old photos very exposed on social media with sensual clothes at parties. This in itself doesn't define anyone's character, but when these images appear in excess in different eras with the same pattern of exposure and ostentation, it's a sign that there's a constant search for external validation. Many times the woman doesn't even realize that what she posted years ago still says a lot about what she valued, or perhaps still values: attention, status, social approval. It's important to understand that social media is like emotional shop windows. No one posts something by chance. And when you realize that her timeline is a sequence of parties, provocative selfies, and carefully planned images to attract looks, you need to ask yourself, what was she trying to communicate? Does this still reflect who she is today? Or did she just forget to delete a past that no longer represents anything? Knowing how to read this can give you a huge emotional advantage, because before hearing the speech, you've already seen the behavior. And it's not about demanding perfection or requiring an immaculate history. The question here is, if you're looking for a partner with values aligned with yours, you need to observe if what she publicly displays is in tune with the type of life you want to build. If you're tired of watching her play games, ignore you, and do whatever she wants with your feelings, it's time to show who's in charge of the game. It's time to make her chase you and recognize your true value. In the first pinned comment, I've left a step-by-step guide on how to make her pursue you. Plus, you'll level up and become the best version of yourself. Click now. Second observation, history of trips to trendy places frequently, without explaining with whom. Trips are incredible experiences, and everyone has the right to enjoy life as they wish. But when this becomes a pattern, frequent trips to expensive destinations, luxurious parties, paradisiacal beaches, and curiously, without any sign of who was with her, it's worth turning on the alert. The absence of context can hide more than it reveals. These mysterious trips often leave gaps that are not filled with words, but with intuition. The attentive man realizes that sometimes what is not shown says more than the posted photos. When the scenery is always exuberant but the companions are invisible, there may be a subtle attempt to hide stories that she herself prefers not to explain. It's not about controlling who she traveled with, but about understanding what that pattern communicates. A life turned exclusively to pleasure and ostentation, without any emotional transparency, can indicate a difficulty in building lasting bonds. And if what you want is stability, clarity, and reciprocity, this type of history may be a factor to be considered. Third observation: displays sexualized behavior in public. Dances, glances, provocations. There are women who are naturally extroverted, cheerful, and intense. This is different from someone who constantly uses sensuality as a social currency, especially in public environments. When exaggerated dances, provocative gestures, or excessive glances are part of her standard posture, something needs to be interpreted with more attention. Behaviors like this usually don't arise out of nowhere. Often they are learned mechanisms to attract attention or stand out. This may reveal an internal need for constant validation, or even an unconscious way of competing with other women. The problem starts when this becomes the center of her identity, and not just a light part of her personality. If you are looking for someone with whom you can build trust and stability, this type of public posture can generate discomforts later on. It's the difference between the woman who knows her worth and the one who seems to be always offering herself for the gaze of others. When sensuality becomes a continuous social performance, it's necessary to reflect if this energy is being directed to the relationship or to feed an invisible stage. Fourth observation: makes jokes about having had many exes. At first glance, it may seem like just a casual comment, a type of acidic humor or a light way of telling stories from the past. But when this type of joke becomes frequent, like, "Wow, I lost count of how many exes," it's worth paying more attention to the subtext. What is she trying to normalize, or even hide behind laughter? Sometimes the joke is just a smokescreen to soften experiences that deep down she herself couldn't resignify. And the problem isn't that she lived, it's that she didn't process those experiences in a healthy way. Whoever makes jokes with their own love history as if it were a resume often is trying to validate a past that wasn't well resolved. And as light as the tone may be, the impact can be profound, especially if you are looking for a serious relationship, because this type of constant humor can undermine the emotional security of the relationship, generate doubts, and even fuel insecurities. It's not about demanding purity, it's about realizing if her past is at peace, or if it became a joke precisely because it still hurts. Fifth observation has already been called easy or player in comments, even jokingly. The words people use, even jokingly, often have a grain of truth. If you notice that on her social media, there are comments that constantly allude to this, from friends, followers, or even acquaintances, stop and think. This type of reputation doesn't arise out of nowhere. Of course, there's a lot of machismo in the way women are judged, but there's also a fine line between injustice and reflection of behavior. When this image repeats itself among different social circles, the most likely is that she herself has, at some point, fueled this narrative. The way she positioned herself in the past created a perception that, for better or for worse, left marks. The point isn't to blindly accept what they say about her, but also not to completely ignore it. Public reputation, even if sometimes unfair, can bring important clues. If you feel that this fame has been reinforced, even by those who live with her, it's worth reflecting if this history can influence the type of relationship you are about to build. Sixth observation has contacts saved with suspicious names like client, booth VIP guy, etc. The way someone organizes their cell phone can say a lot about their private life. Contacts with generic nicknames, caricatured ones, or those that refer to some indirect advantage, like status or money, can be small signs of self-serving or fleeting relationships that she prefers not to explain clearly. These names aren't there by chance. They represent stories, dynamics, and often bonds that haven't been fully severed. A client may be just someone from work, but it can also be someone who offers something in exchange for presence or company. And this, at a minimum, requires caution from someone who is just arriving in her life now. It's important to pay attention to this type of detail, not out of jealousy, but out of emotional intelligence, because these remnants of the past, if they are still active, can directly interfere with the present. You don't need to confront, just observe. And know if this woman is really emotionally available, or if she still lives in cycles of shallow relationships, maintained under code names. Seventh observation is always in a different car or with different people. Everyone has friends, and it's normal to socialize. But when you start to realize that she's never with the same people, that the faces change every week and the cars too, it's time to ask yourself, what does this really represent? Stability or constant traffic of temporary bonds. This pattern may indicate that she lives in a flow of utilitarian relationships, people who come and go according to the moment, the status, or what can be offered. And when emotional stability is absent in social life, it's usually also missing in intimate relationships. You may end up being just another figure in that relay disguised as freedom. It's not about controlling or judging, but about realizing if she knows how to put down roots, if her connections have depth or are just circumstantial, because a solid relationship requires presence, consistency, and trust, and a woman who lives changing company like changing clothes may not yet be ready to live something real. Eighth observation: has OnlyFans, close friends, or paid private content. Nowadays, it's common to see people monetizing social media, but when the content involves intimate exposure, explicit sensuality, or exclusive paid access, it's important to understand the type of relationship that this woman establishes with her own body and with the men around her. Maintaining this type of content isn't wrong in itself, but it reveals a very clear stance. She's willing to turn her image into a product, and this has direct impacts on the dynamics of any relationship. The masculine gaze on her is already molded, and the attention she receives isn't neutral. If you enter this relationship without understanding this context, you may end up frustrated. Ask yourself, are you emotionally prepared to deal with this? Do you feel secure being the partner of someone who shares their image intimately with the public? Because a relationship requires exclusive exchanges, and when part of the intimacy is sold or displayed, this can deeply affect the building of trust between you. Ninth observation: posts videos dancing sensually or doing provocative trends. Social media has become a stage, and many people use this space to express themselves, have fun, and even seek validation. But when the posted content is mostly sensual, with provocative dances or double-meaning trends, it's important to reflect what is being communicated, even unconsciously. This type of exposure can reveal much more than a simple taste for dancing. It may be linked to a deep need for attention, the search for likes as a form of emotional validation, or even a learned pattern of public seduction. When sensuality becomes the main content, the message is clear. There is pleasure in being desired by many, even if it costs the exclusive gaze of the one by her side. If you value discretion, mystery, and reserved intimacy, this pattern can be a challenge. It's not about prohibiting, but understanding if her lifestyle and values match yours. Because what today seems like just a harmless trend, tomorrow may be what will generate insecurity, comparisons, and even difficult questions within the relationship. 10th observation: frequently attends luxury events without demonstrating compatible income. Everyone has the right to enjoy special moments, but when someone constantly appears at high-end events, VIP boxes, rooftops, exclusive parties, without presenting a lifestyle compatible with that. It's fair to ask, how did she get there? These environments aren't accessible to just anyone. And if she's there frequently, but without a professional, family, or social history that explains this presence, there may be something behind it that isn't being said. Sometimes these invitations come with hidden expectations, relationships based on exchange, presences conditioned to who can pay or what kind of company she offers. It's not wrong to like luxury, but it's important to observe if this luxury is part of her life naturally, or if it's a world she frequents for convenience. Because if it's the latter, maybe she's more accustomed to self-serving relationships than to sincere connections. And this, for someone looking for something real, can be a clear sign of emotional incompatibility. 11th observation: always appears with bottles of sparkling wine, drinks, VIP boxes. The constant presence of this type of image on social media, expensive drinks, exclusive environments, lively parties, may even seem normal nowadays, but it reveals a lot about what the person values and how she sees pleasure, status, and belonging. When this type of content dominates her profile, it may indicate that social life is based more on ostentation than on connection. And this isn't just a lifestyle, it's an emotional philosophy. The woman who is always being treated, present in VIP boxes and luxurious parties, often gets used to being treated as a desired but disposable presence. And this type of dynamic directly affects the way she builds relationships. If you're willing to build something based on depth, on real moments and true complicity, this contrast can weigh heavily. Because not everyone who's at parties wants to build a home. And a woman who is constantly immersed in this type of environment may still be looking for something outside of herself, and not ready for something within the two of you. 12th observation: knows the dynamic of hooking up and disappearing very well, as if she's done it many times. Some people have become experts in emotional games. They know exactly when to appear, when to disappear, how to arouse interest, and when to cool things down. If you notice that she masters this cycle as if it were a pattern, it's a sign that this isn't new, it's practice. This type of behavior may even seem charming at first, as if she were a different, unpredictable woman. But over time, emotional instability takes its toll. Relationships based on strategic disappearances, calculated silences, and seductive reappearances tend to generate exhaustion. And if she does this naturally, she's probably applied this script many times before. You need to ask yourself, do you want someone who plays games to maintain control, or someone who gives themselves with maturity? The woman who plays with the cycles of approach and withdrawal may even be captivating, but she will hardly be constant. And without consistency, there is no trust. And without trust, there is no future. If this video made a difference for you, please like and subscribe to the channel. Every video we create here is thoughtfully made, always with the aim of helping you develop and achieve your best version. We want to share practical and direct tips that really impact your life positively. So don't waste time and comment below with the word gratitude and the phrase, "in search of my best version." With that, the algorithm will take this video to even more men who are seeking growth. Your engagement in the comments is essential for our content to reach those who need these tips the most. In addition, your support with likes and subscribing to the channel strengthens our work and motivates us to continue creating valuable content for your journey. The more you interact, the more men will also have access to this type of information, which only helps our mission to transform lives. So thank you for being with us on this journey. Stay tuned for the next videos, because we are always bringing new things to help you evolve. Big hug, and see you in the next video.